We are building the Minesweeper project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. In the previous video, we saw how we can use the grid method from tkinter to create a grid of buttons that obviously then can be clicked. We will develop this further, but before moving further, I want to do something very important for this game. I am going to put these buttons in a list of lists. Now what I want to do is basically I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say number of rows which is 9, that many lists, and put them all in a mega list. Each of those lists will contain every button. Let's see how we do that. So I just define a list here called, let's say, buttons as an empty list. Now I want this to be a list of lists, so which means for every row I will create, let's say, an empty list. So I just go and say buttons, let's say dot append, say an empty list. So that creates, let's say, a placeholder for, say, one row. Now having done this, as I create the buttons, I want to put every button in a specific position, basically in that inner list. So I just go and say buttons. Now notice KK is the outer loop, which means KK is counting the rows. So we are just saying, okay, look at that particular list, which is, for example, this row, or say this row, and so on. So buttons KK, and to this I want to append the button that we're looking at. So basically that's going to create, let's say, the inner list, which is one row. Now again, best is to see this working. When I run this piece of code, obviously nothing changes with respect to the appearance. I still get my grid of buttons forming, but most importantly, I have now got a buttons. Looks very complicated, but see it carefully. This is a list of lists. If I look at the length of, say, buttons, that is equal to 9. If I look at, let's say, length of buttons, say 0, that is also 9, because remember there are 9 rows and 9 columns. Let's just see what is buttons, say 0. It's basically button 2, button 3, button 4, and so on and so forth. So basically each of these buttons has been made as an item in a list, and that's quite interesting. Think about it. Now we are creating a list of tkinter widgets. In this case, the widget here is a button. This will become quite handy as we program the game further, because think about it. Now we have all these buttons here available to us as items in a list of lists, which means we can index every button basically just like how we index items in a two-dimensional list. We'll see this in action later on. I hope you found this interesting. In general, building activities and learning through them is a great way to learn programming, and that is how we learn programming at YByte. So look at our website www.ybyte.in. You will find that there are many such activities. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.